So first and foremost, I would like to welcome and thank all of you for joining in today. Today we have a very interesting session planned for you. The topic of today's session is changing role of marketing, new challenges and new opportunities. Sometime back I was reading an article which talks about the rate at which the authorship is changing in this world. Something that used to happen in a century is now happening in a year. What I'm talking about is number of people who are authoring something, which is actually measured by the term called authorship. So, and it is creating an entirely different kind of a world altogether. If we really think about ourselves, all of us are publishers. So we moved from the world of scarcity to the world of abundance, and it needs a different techniques, a different processes, different principles to market yourself in this world. So that's the kind of challenge that we all of us are facing, and that's what we will be discussing in today's webinar. So today's webinar actually aims to make some sense of this new age of marketing and what it demands and to become successful. To lead this session, we have with us Sanjay Mehta. Sanjay is a business owner and joint CEO of Social Wavelength. Social Wavelength is a pure play, full service social media agencies with more than 100 people in it. Sanjay has more than 15 years of experience. He's a very dear friend of mine, and really great to have Sanjay with us here today. And I'm personally really looking forward to hear your views on how to really deal with the challenges that all of us face as a marketer. So without taking any further time, now I'll just hand over the session to Sanjay. Before that, those of you who are joining us for the first time, by default, all of you are muted. We will have the presentation for about 30-35 minutes, and then we will have an open Q&A. Even in between, keep posting your questions, and I'll just take up all the questions in chronological order after the session is over. And Sanjay, even while the session is on, if you see any question that is relevant to the topic of discussion, you can take up during the session as well. So that's it from my side. Sanjay, over to you.
Okay. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with the digital media webinar once again. I've done it before and it was great.
Sanjay, looks like the voice is cracking.
So some more thoughts and views. So as Kapil, the role of marketing, new opportunities that we see, and what I'm talking about will evolve over the next few slides and next few minutes. So at the outset, this is hello. Is it better?
Yeah, what I suggest is you can just pause the webcam. It may be because of the net speed, so you can just pause the webcam.
Okay.
And that'll make more sense.
Okay. Just 1 second. Okay, so my webcam is paused.
Great. It's much better now.
Is the sound better now?
Much better.
Okay. So maybe it's a slow connection here. Okay. So, like I said, there are these 3 key thoughts which I want to share in the course of the afternoon. One is around the challenges that traditional marketing is facing today, and what is the new way that marketers should focus, and finally the new marketing model, and around it the changing role of the marketer is as we know him now. So let's look at the traditional ways of marketing and advertising to begin with. Very typically, for any marketer, whether you're selling a product or a service, there is a need that you have, which is to market. You need to reach your prospect with your communication. That's a very fundamental. Is a very fundamental requirement for any marketer. And whatever means which you adopt, whether it's advertising, direct marketing, PR, whatever it is, your goal is to carry your communication out to the target audience which you want to reach. And of course, traditionally the larger efforts, the larger monies, budgets have been spent in typical stuff like print advertising, television, out-of-home hoardings. where it was PR, it was again traditionally largely meant building relationships with journalists, uh, whichever ways one approached it. So that has been the traditional approach for marketing. Even when we think of direct mails, it was about email, telemarketing, stuff like that, which over the years have been sort of looked down upon from email go getting into spamming, telemarketing, disturbing people at the orders of hours, general mailers going into a junk folder. That people continued, and even though they have not been effective over the to be in the which are coming in, unfortunately, the conclusion that they draw is that they probably are not putting enough money and go ahead and increase the budgets. I think there is a different message out there for people, and that is not being taken. And a lot of times, brands and companies seem to be in denial and continue to do the same things, making the same mistakes that they've been making. So here's a quote by a gentleman who has worked in companies like Reuters, Universal Music, as well as an ad agency. And like he has gone and said that first the news business, then the music business, and then advertising. Is there any industry that I get involved that doesn't get destroyed by digital technology? So it's just an example that, variety of industries, whether it's media, whether it's an entertainment space like music, whether it's actual advertising, all of these have been impacted by digital technology, and almost to the extent where it has shaken the fundamental approach of the industry. And right now we're talking about in this webinar, we're mostly focusing on the last part, is the advertising or marketing bit, and how that has been impacted by digital technology and the challenges it is posing to marketers. So what then are the new possibilities or the new realities which are there for marketers, and what is the new realities in marketing? First of all, digital technology is allowing a client or a brand to live out their ultimate fantasy. And what's an ultimate fantasy that a brand manager or a marketer would have? That I can customize a specific message to a specific consumer at the specific moment. It's like I know exactly when my customer, for example, the fantasy is that my customer is walking into the store. He has in mind that he wants to buy a new television. He's a customer who buys a particular kind of television. And I know exactly that person, and at that instant, I'm able to send him a message that, look, our television has this offer going right now, XYZ, whatever. It's like that is a potential. That's the kind of ability that potentially digital technology has. However, having said that, the very fact that it offers this kind of a potential also means that it's a marketer's nightmare. Why so?
Sanjay?
This is the fact. The irony is that,
yeah, your slides are not moving.
Still not audible?
You are audible, but your slides are not moving. Yeah, so you can take care of that.
Do you want me to redial and see once? Can I just actually redial and get into a new connect? Maybe the connection is a slow connect, so I'll disconnect and reconnect.
That should be fine, or otherwise the voice is fine. If you can just reshare your screen, that would be fine.
Reshare my screen. Okay, I'll try and do that. One second.
Sure.
Is the screen visible? I'm on a slide which has the title, The New Possibilities and Realities in Marketing, and there's some 3 bullets which are open.
Absolutely
3 bullets
fine.
are also open. Are you able to...
Yes, Sanjay, absolutely fine. You can move on now.
Okay, so I was saying that while digital technology allows a client to possibly reach a very specific message to a very specific consumer at a very specific moment. At the same time, it is also posing a fundamental nightmare. For one, before I even read the bullet, for one, that just means that you have a million customers who are in million different possible situations, and I could potentially give them a million different specific messages. How do I do that as a marketer? I mean, it's crazy. Can I actually think of all those different permutations and combinations? While the potential is there, it puts that sort of a challenge that suddenly marketing, which was to be very simple, create one nice hoarding and put it on out of home location. Suddenly, I have to think of very very many different combinations of advertising communication to different people and send it out. At the same time, the other challenge is that, as this bullet reads, the irony is that while there never have been more ways to reach consumers, it's never been harder to connect with consumers. Okay, I'm going to read it again so we absorb the point that there never have been more ways to reach consumers, but it's also never been harder to connect with consumers. What it means, there is an ability through earlier there was print and television, maybe hoardings. Today we have emails and SMS and WhatsApp and Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. There are multiple ways in which a brand can potentially come in front of a consumer. However, does that coming in front of a consumer mean anything to the consumer? Does it mean that I am connected to that particular brand just because it shows up on my Facebook feed or my Twitter feed or something? So the challenge is a lot more because you are only now, as a brand, you are part of an even bigger cluttered space than earlier. Also, what that means is that there was an earlier style of marketing which you call as mass marketing. Mass marketing is where you create one message, whether it's a television message or you create a print message, and you put it out, and all the different people, whoever is reading, gets that. So your job is done. Now you wait and see if the cash register is going to ring or not. But that was it. That you didn't, as a marketer, you are done with the. First of all, there is too much communication that any consumer gets, which means that anything which comes for 2 days, 3 days, people are already bored of seeing that. So as a marketer, you need to keep doing new things and innovating and showing different messages. Plus the fact, what we mentioned earlier about customizing messages to the specific consumer at the specific moment, means that you cannot, as a marketer, cannot just do one and relax. You need to constantly keep updating and changing for the right consumer at the right stage. For example, the famous campaign which Old Spice ran was about creating 200 videos in about 48 hours. The marketers who were working there, it was more work for less money, because it was definitely not about creating 200 videos and getting television commercial kind of monies for 200 videos. It was not. It was work on much lesser budgets, except that because the space has changed, you don't make that one kick-ass television commercial. You make 200 small videos which go on to YouTube. So that's the change which happened. That there's no lazy marketing there. Marketers need to work hard. Agency. Also, the fact is that the controlled one-way message is a thing of the past. So earlier, as a brand or as a marketer, you put an advertising, you know exactly when it is coming, you know exactly where it is coming, you are in control. It's your one-way message. You say that you have the best soap in the world, people listen to you. Okay, that's your controlled one-way message. Now that has changed. As soon as an advertising piece or marketing piece hits market, there are people commenting on it. So, for example, we have had this longest dialogue going on social media about the Airtel ad recently, where the woman boss and the woman who's also the wife. I mean, there's a debate out there. So people have an opinion, whether it's a perspective that a user has, there's an opinion. So you as a brand cannot relax that this is my communication, this is what I want to tell, and everybody will absorb that message. No, everybody has a perspective to your message. That's the change which has happened. And which also means that the power of the advertiser. So advertiser had a power because he had money and he had reach and he was conveying something to the world. Now the question is that power is now actually matched by the power of the user influence. So if there is a huge user movement which says that, look, this Bharti Airtel ad is not right and doesn't show women in a correct way, so that, I mean, assuming it had a huge influence opportunity, it would actually counter the power of the advertiser. So these are some of the new changes and new realities in marketing which we see today. What are some of the other changes which you see for traditional advertising? From a marketer's point of view, the space has got so sliced out in terms of skills requirement that a brand hardly ever finds the one person or the one company or the one agency who can do everything for them. And because they can't, the brand chooses to go and work with specialists, a specialist digital agency, a specialist PR agency, a specialist. So if you are an agency who happens to offer a certain set of services and you think that, okay, as the space grows and as it expands, I should be the one that the brand should be calling for everything, think again, the brand is not doing so because he doesn't get the right kind of inputs from you, and which again poses a challenge for the traditional advertising agency. Then again, look at a technology challenge. Okay, now earlier, if I was putting out advertising, let's experience and his understanding would come back and say, okay, we are going to do these many English dailies and these many regional ones, and we'll put on this date we'll put ad here and then we'll put an ad here, etc., etc. And it would be like a work of art because he apparently was the one who understood the space best, and he was conjuring up something, and the client would say, oh wow, so this is a great plan because you used all your experience and you are able to tell me what works. However, coming now, first of all, your cost of video creation, like I mentioned to you, the old spice, or anybody else, you're doing videos for a medium like YouTube, your cost is less because suddenly there is a way to do it for much more efficiently. A lot of tools are available. You don't need to. It's media planning. Now think about putting 10,000 different variants of your ad, which need to change based on time of the day, based on which kind of a person is coming to see, based on the cookie that you have put on a computer, or based on which publishing space which he is looking at. Is it showing up on Rediff's finance page or Yahoo's main home page, or is it showing up on Money Control 2 in the afternoon from 2 to 4? Depending on where it is showing, to whom it is showing, to what time it is showing, you might want to have a different ad show up. It's not clearly not a job of a media planner. It's a job of great technology. A tool which can do this for you based on parameter part is now getting a better software.
Sanjay?
Creativity is yeah.
Yeah, Sanjay, looks like your voice is cracking again.
Kapil, anything?
Yes, your voice is cracking again. I would suggest if you could log out and log in with the other connection, that might help. So we guys will wait. If you can just do that, I'll do that. That'd be better. Yeah. So everybody will wait. Everybody will wait for another 2-3 minutes before Sanjay relogs in.
2 minutes. I'll try to do that.
Till that time, if in case you have any question, you can please post it in the question panel, and I'll try to see if I can address it. I'll do that, or we'll wait for Sanjay to join in. So as I mentioned, we'll wait for another 2 minutes, and then as soon as Sanjay joins back, we'll start the session again. And in case you have any question on all that's been discussed so far, or anybody wants to comment on anything, I'm putting all the hands down. Like it was more on like creating the world of the way we the way the new age marketing is evolving. So if anybody has any comment and you want to say something, just press the hand raise button, and I'll immediately unmute you, and you can express your comments. Or else you can also type it down in the question panel.
Hello.
Hi Sanjay. Yes.
Yeah, I've connected to a new connection, so hopefully
It's much
this
better.
one is better.
That looks like it's better. Just start uh, the screen sharing.
So this slide, other real challenges. Okay, nice. I've shared my screen. Are you able to see it?
Not so far.
Okay, let me stop and restart. Okay. Is showing my screen? Tell me. Hello.
Not right now. It's still coming out black. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking away the presenter right and I'll give it again to you. Hopefully it will correct the issue.
Okay. Okay.
So yes, I've given you the presenter rights. You can share your screen now.
Okay. I'm sharing it. So tell me when you can see it. Are you able to see it or no?
No.
Okay. It shows me that it's showing my screen. So I don't know what's happening. I can again stop and try and retry it once.
Sure.
Not showing it.
No, there is something probably you're missing out, which you were doing earlier but not doing it now.
Okay, there's nothing. I've changed nothing except showing and stop showing screen. That's all.
It's like I've given you the
What should I do?
So um, what you can do is you can continue with the session, and if you could just take a minute and email me your slides, I'll just start it at my end.
Okay. So I will stop showing my screen. I'll just mail you the deck.
Guys, just wait for another couple of minutes. Sorry about it. Wait for another couple of minutes. Okay, mail me at kapil@digitalvidya.com.
Yeah, it's attaching the file. Hello.
Yeah,
The screen is still not seen. No? I change the connection one more time.
just a minute. I made you the presenter once again. You can just accept it. See if you can.
Are you able to see anything from my side?
No.
Okay, I mailed it to you anyway.
Sure,
So
I got it. You can start with the session, and as soon as I have it downloaded, I'll just start it.
okay. So here I have enabled my screen to be on in case it shows up well and good. So I was on a slide which talks about other real challenges for traditional advertising. And the first one I had already mentioned was the fact that brands choose to work with specialist agencies, digital, PR, social, whatever it is, rather than generalists because they are looking for the right skills. There's a technology challenge which is also up upon the marketers and the brands because video creation potentially could happen through some really nifty tools and bring the cost down, or media planning of digital advertising definitely needs software tools and is not a work of art that media planning was doing earlier. Creativity is not that exclusive. So that's the other part, that there was a certain premium that agencies were able to get from their media planners, from the creative guys, because it appeared to be that this is the guy who knows exactly what to show, and which is what agencies were able to get a lot of money for. However, there is an increasing, at least in the West, increasing opportunity which has been used of actually going out and crowdsourcing ideas, because it is believed that for as much great creativity that a great creative guy working in an agency has, there is also a creative talent available out there amongst people, and why not source it from them at a much lower cost. So that's the other challenge which agencies are also facing. For example, there was this campaign which Kraft ran. Kraft, the company, the food company out in the US. Normally, companies of that size and that kind would go and spend millions of dollars on advertising campaign, but for a particular campaign, they went and worked with a boutique agency called Genius Rocket, and as against spending millions of dollars for one spot, they managed to get 7 different spots of advertising for just about $40,000. And on top of that, they were able to also have some additional services which this boutique agency threw in, including the fact that they were able to syndicate uh, syndicate the creative to certain web platforms for purpose of tracking, testing, getting sentiment analysis around the ad. So
Sanjay?
the point was that instead of, yeah,
Yeah, so the slides are
yeah,
visible to
completely.
everybody. The slides are visible to everybody,
Okay.
and I'm at the same
From
place.
my
So
machine,
on my machine, I'll take care
it's
of the
from your
slide
machine.
movement. Yeah, I'll take care of the slide movement. You
Okay,
can
so
just continue.
I keep saying next slide or
Sure,
something. I'll keep
sure.
telling you so you can. So I'm on that last bullet that essentially what we're saying is that for an agency then to try to give a cutting edge feel, they could do so, but then they have high overheads. As against that, a boutique agency like Genius Rocket was able to offer the same kind of services at a much lower cost because they worked as a lean team. So what we're talking about is not just challenges that a marketer faces, but also the agency side on account of the various changes which are happening in the marketing world. So going to the next,
Got it. Yeah.
clicking the next, yeah. So here's a really long and large paragraph, but it's like really worth reading. It says that why are so many marketing campaigns brand destroyers and money losers? Why is branding becoming a devalued asset whose returns are dwindling? Why do people and communities exact steeper and steeper discounts, price cuts, and margin crushing concessions from the beleaguered, besieged companies once known as the masters of the universe? The half life of companies is shrinking, and the weary practice known as marketing adds little to no real value and seems powerless to help. Okay, I know it takes a while to even go through this paragraph, but the fact is that this is a very, very strong condemnation of marketing as it stands today by an eminent author or a writer called Umair Haq, who writes for Harvard Business Review. And by the way, he's on Twitter also, and he does a lot of blogging. And for anybody interested, I would strongly recommend following him because he writes some really interesting content. But here is his view on the fact that what marketing has been reduced to. Is marketing reduced to just all about more discounts, more price cuts, and especially in the world, especially in our kind of world with the increasing funding going to e-commerce companies, are we just going to see more of that? And is that the only way that a brand can actually go out and sell? Now, does it need any smart marketers to do that? If I can sell for half the price, I will anyway have people queuing up outside my door. So what's the big deal about marketing that? So this is basically the challenge. So as we go to the next slide,
Got it.
Say that even though the world is changing, marketing is still looking a lot like this. Like what? It's about pushing products down already overstuffed gullets of consumers. Consumers are already having enough on their head. You're trying to push that one more product of yours down their gullets. And how are we doing it? By targeting messages packed with imaginary benefits. So it's all about make believe, and in grand campaigns that make overblown promises. For example, see this beer is going to land you a girl of your dreams. Now, give me a break, right? So the consumer has gone way smarter since the time this kind of an advertising worked, right? And yet, I think the marketer, the advertiser has not changed, and he continues to, give the same kind of old messaging which he used to do. So current marketing, in short, is about talking down to your customer. What do you mean by talking down? It's like saying that my customer is an idiot, he doesn't know, and I'll show him this girl of his dreams and he'll buy my beer. Fact is, it's not the case, and talking down is not working. Customers are not going to accept your this kind of a messaging, and with the results, marketing doesn't work. And what that means, if you go to the next slide, is that really from this talking down, can the marketer convert to listening up, which is like a huge shift for a marketer. Now, what is listening up? Well, first of all, what listening up is not, and let's understand before I get to the list what is actually listening up. Listening up is not about stalking your customers and finding their moments of weakness. So it's not about constantly following some customer and saying, oh, now is a good time to push in my offer. That's not what listening up is. Listening up is also not just about creating a few focus groups and finding some differentiation. That's again old style market research, which is good to do, but that's not what we talk about listening up. Listening up is again not just about data mining. Oh, let me just get a lot of data and a lot of analysis and a lot of information, and then maybe some change will happen. It is not just about that. It's definitely not about that. The reality is that when you talk about listening up, the up part of it is very important. What it means is real dialogues about what betters lives of people, their standard of living, and then finding real ways to make it happen for them. So dialogues with people, real dialogues which give you input about what they are into, and that's basically part of listening up. And as we'll see in the next slide, what that entails is a genuine talk with customers, not just about their wants and needs, because as a marketer you want to know what they want, what they need, so I can push my product. So it's not just about wants and needs. It's at a more emotional level, at a different client, saying about their hopes, fears, opportunities, threats, achievements, regrets. Find ways to give them long-term fulfillment. So it's genuine talk. The way you would talk to a friend at a very emotional level, as a brand, as a marketer, can you get towards that point where you're actually having a deeper discussion with your customer? It's also about empowering more people in your organization to talk to customers. So, unfortunately, most of the time in most companies, it's that cashier on the cash counter or a customer service representative on a phone who are actually talking to the customers. Everybody else is sitting somewhere in the offices and your desks. Now, the reality again is that, unfortunately, in the scheme of things, and this is not to belittle anyone, but in the scheme of things, the cashier or the customer service representative are probably the most powerless to make a change happen. Especially customer service could often be an outsourced service given to a BPO, or a cashier is again one of those, temporary staff or whatever. Anything which they are engaging with the consumer at that point, does it even get heard and understood, and does it get translated to higher ups where it matters and where change could be initiated? I mean, we have read and heard now that the Bansals of Flipkart are occasionally going out and themselves doing delivery of products, and even their other top management is doing the same. It's a great example. It's the fact that if you are out there in front of a customer and really understanding the emotion of your consumer as he receives your package or talks to you, and what you hear and understand from them, that's your biggest input. And are you able to get a sense of what's the emotion when a brand engages with you, when a consumer engages with your brand? So that's what listening up requires. Listening up also requires that enabling your critics to rip at you. Basically, it's not about listening so that I can listen to some nice, good words that others, what my customers tell about me. That would be so convenient that I'm listening to more praise. The reality is you should be open to listen to criticism. I have an interesting case with one of my clients who has on their website, they had a space where people could give feedback. And unfortunately, because of other challenges on ground, the feedback which was coming in was a whole lot negative feedback. And because it probably also counted in some kind of KRA or whatever, I don't know what, but they didn't like that there was so much negative feedback. So guess what did they do? They removed that link for the feedback. Now that's just not the way to handle it. You can't, by being ignorant or by trying to pretend it's not there, it's not going to go away. In fact, that feedback was the most powerful asset for them, because customers were taking their time out and telling you what they didn't like about you, what was not working for them, and that was an ammunition for you to go and fix things. So instead of hearing them, you just shut the door, which is not what listening up requires. Listening up is also not just about market research, but about people, getting the right kind of people, making sure that they are understanding consumer emotion and sentiments, and asking questions that matter, being tough to face the music. So, asking, not just asking that, rate us on good, better, and best. It's not about that. Asking that, did we suck, or what you don't like about us? What can we do to really make you feel better or delight you more? Ask the tough question. Let people tell you about that. And then you can go and do something to make it happen. So that brings us to the new model and the new role for marketers. So first of all, the marketing model itself is changing, and we'll see it in the next slide. We are running slightly late just because of the technology hiccups which we got, but I'll try to rush it and so that we leave time for Q&A. So changing marketing model, where are the budgets? And it's not just marketing anyway. So first, let's understand the changing marketing model. That earlier, a purchase journey for a consumer when he's buying something was what you'd call as fundamentally a funnel. That supposing you're buying a car, you know that you're buying a mid-sized car. what earlier people would do is that they would line up the number of options you have in mid-size cars. So if there are 15 different options, you start with that, and then you start evaluating on the parameters that matter to you, whether it's price or performance or whatever it is, and gradually go from 15 to 10 and 10 to 6 and 6 to 4 and 4 to 1. It's like a fundamental funnel. That is how the purchase journey used to happen earlier. However, today, that's not how it happens. What has changed is it has become, what does that mean? For that, we look at the next slide. That means is that when you get started, you have a few names which come to your head. It doesn't have to be an exhaustive list. So you may, if for the mid-size car, 4 names come to your head, you start with them. That's your consideration stage. As you start with 4, you start then evaluating. So while evaluating, you'll do whatever. You may go and do a test drive. You may speak to friends. You may read reviews. You may go and see videos on YouTube. Whatever it is, that's your whole evaluation stage. Now, in this evaluation stage, what happens? What happens is that either you go from 4 to 1 gradually, or out of the original 4, maybe 2 don't make it, but 2 new ones come into the consideration now, because while you were evaluating, somebody said, hey, you've not heard of this one, this is much better, and you are open to evaluation. So which means that it's not a genuine funnel which you are going from 15 to 1, but that 4 can become 2 and 2 can become 3 again. Whatever happens, and that's that elasticity, and hence we talk about the ellipse. So that's the evaluation stage, which finally, of course, through whatever consideration that you apply as a consumer, leads you to a buy point. And from the buy point, in the earlier spot, your work is over, you stop. But really in the new purchase journey, a consumer doesn't stop at the buy, because after having purchased, he's going out and talking about it. He's saying how he's enjoying the experience. Is it working for him? Is it not working for him? What's the challenge? So there is this whole advocacy loop after that, or the loyalty loop. Now that's very crucial, because it is a bond that the consumer is forming with the brand, but what it also impacts is possible next purchase. So if he's having a good experience, may like to buy the same brand again another time. Plus, it is a huge influencing opportunity, because what he says decides what his friends and art is there, and hence for a brand, it's an important part of the journey. So, just 1 second. Okay, so continuing, so that's the changing model from a funnel to an ellipse. Now, if you consider again marketing budgets in the same context, because the traditional marketer was focused on 2 key areas. One is that in a funnel, as a brand, I want to be getting into the consideration set. So you have a lot of advertising which will get you a brand recall. So when somebody thinks about the mid-size car, my brand should be in his original list of consideration. So large money would be spent on the initial awareness thing, so that your brand gets in the consideration set. And the second place where the monies were flowing was closer to the point of sale, whether it's in terms of discounts or whatever it is. So the 2 big places where budgets were spent were in the 2 areas. Now, because the marketers have still not changed, they still look at it in these 2 big areas, consideration and point of sale. Now, if you map these with the ellipse, what that shows is that there are 2 crucial areas where customers are shifting and changing the mind. One is that whole evaluation loop, where people are evaluating. That's where a brand is not spending money. Now, in a context of new media and social media, that's where he's taking opinions, he's seeking ideas from his colleagues and others. But if a brand is not present, not listening, not seeding content at that time, and not allocating budgets there, obviously it's missing out when the customer is in the evaluation stage, and maybe the brand risks being replaced by some other brand, a competitor brand. The second place where the consumer is active and making influences other colleagues is in the post-purchase loyalty loop. where he's talking about his experience and good, bad, everything. Again, since the marketer thinks his journey has ended when the purchase happened, he's not investing there. Again, he's losing out there because the consumer is still conversing, and it may influence his next purchase, or it will influence the purchase of his friends. So the allocations need to be there for those touch points also, which currently are not happening, and which actually mean, again, a marketing shift that earlier marketers, or even today marketers, are allocating money for TV, print, radio, whatever, which is so-called marketing work, but they need to provide budgets for non-work, which is not the typical media budgets. However, they are budgets like creating and monitoring owned and earned media spaces. The evaluation happens there, the post-purchase loyalty loop happens in those spaces. So I think that brings me to probably the last slide, and which is that the marketer's role also is much more than just marketing. Now, for example, if you think of marketer as an orchestrator, a marketer today has to be in charge of all the owned media. And so, which means that in addition to the traditional and digital marketing, as a marketer, you also need to have an influence on customer service or product literature design or registration or warranty programs, anywhere, just about anywhere where a consumer is having a touch point with your brand. There is a potential for a consumer to say that he's not happy and go on to digital and social media and make a big noise of it. So he reads a warranty card and there is some serious spelling mistakes. He will go and put a picture of it on Twitter, and that will go viral. Because you're a big brand, and how could you have not seen this? If there was a customer service interaction which didn't go well, again that goes out on social and digital spaces and becomes a damager to your marketing program. So, which only means that there has to be a fundamental marketing influence even at the stage of any kind of media which you own. The second point is marketer as a potential publisher. Now, there was a time when, maybe 5 years, 7 years, 10 years back, where a company could produce maybe 8 pages of a brochure, and that was enough content that they published, and that was keeping them in business for the whole year. Today, with all sorts of content, whether it's the brochures and your blogs and your white papers and your Facebook and your Twitter and whatnot, your Instagrams, put all together, a company could easily be doing upwards of 10,000 pages of content or even more. Now, with all that content, finally it has to be the right kind of content, have the right quality, have the right messaging, the right communication. And what does that mean? That means that the marketer who was earlier happy to produce those 8 pages of good brochure, now he's virtually producing 10,000, 20,000 pages of content, which means he has to think like a publisher. He has to think that I have a magazine coming out every week or every fortnight, and am I getting it? I have to think of content supply chain. What will I put up on my Facebook page tomorrow, next week? What will I put on YouTube? I have to think of a content supply chain. Are there new pieces of content constantly coming in? So marketer's role is now also that. And the third part, where the marketer is suddenly now an intelligence leader. And why so? Because besides everything else, what you also have is a whole lot of data points thrown at you as a marketer. From simple Google Analytics to social media monitoring data, there are so many other insights and so many other marketing data points which you are getting just thanks to everything becoming measurable. So, for example, if you have a CCTV outside your store, you are able to measure how many footfalls are coming in. Are people coming alone or they're coming as a group? What time do they come? Are they carrying their own bags or they are bringing new bags? What's the emotion on their face? If you want, you can measure that. Does it impact your business? Probably it does. How to convert that in understanding to business, it's left to you. That what is this analytics that between 2 and 4 in the afternoon, I'm getting so many people. At 4 to 7, I'm getting so many people. Or if you see a next camera and you see people going left, right, here, there. And that's just an example. I mean, fundamentally, there are just so many data points being left and which have suddenly become all measurable, going into the cloud, and you are having a huge dump of data in front of you. Now, as a marketer, go figure what you want to do with it. And for which, again, as a marketer, you now have to be a great statistician or a great analytics person. So the role of marketing has changed. So basically, what we're saying is that the challenges are a lot. Several of them looked at differently can actually be opportunities. So if you are the one who can make use of the data, you have a great opportunity because you are able to take far more uh, intelligent decisions now with all that big data which is available, as an example. So broadly, those were the thoughts which I wanted to present. On the last slide, there are some references from where some of these thoughts have been assimilated also. If you're happy to go and refer them for further information. But beyond that, open to questions now. Let me know.
Thanks, Sanjay, for presenting your views. It was definitely a I got to know about a lot of new things I was not aware of earlier. So, guys, we are open for Q&A now. If you have any question, you can just post it in the question panel. So, by the time you're posting it, Sanjay, I would like to ask one thing. So, overall, looking at your presentation, it looks like that the job of a marketer is way more difficult right now. From uh, the whole skill set that is needed to take care of it, to the kind of abundance which is being created, to taking care of the low attention span and trying to work around on all of it. So that's one piece of it. But like, since you're among the very few persons who have possibly experienced this change for more than 15 years now, what do you think? I mean, as a marketer, in terms of the ROI that we used to get 15 years back to the ROI that we are getting right now in the marketing initiative, do you think it has reduced, or is that increased? Or, like, if you're doing the right thing, so let's assume that we do the right thing, we have the right skill set and everything is fine. So uh, return on investment for marketing initiatives, where do you see this position compared to the past?
So I think I would answer it this way, that obviously it's doing it right and getting it right. And so the answer is there are marketers who are not getting it right, and which is why their ROI is really terrible, because probably they continue to invest in the old traditional ways, and they're continuing to put money in the wrong places where the cheese has moved. If you look at the whole concept of who moved my cheese, the cheese has moved, but you have not changed with it, and you continue to do the same old things. And on the other hand, the very fact that today small businesses or new businesses, a new startup venture can potentially, by doing things right at a much lower capital, a much lower marketing investment, can actually grow to challenge an existing leader, which is very possible in today's world. Only means that if you are smart about your marketing, if you know how to use the tools available with you at a much lower cost, you're able to do what earlier used to take crores of rupees to achieve, which means that doing it right, you get far better ROI. Doing it wrong, you can keep sinking monies down the drain.
Got it. So, I mean, just an add-on to that, as part of your job, I'm sure you keep meeting a lot of marketers these days. So, how many of you, how many of them do you really sense that they're doing things in the right way? Like, is this some kind of a, like, as in your experience, what percentage of industry is really doing it in the right way, and what percentage is not doing it in the right way?
So I think we are very few people are doing it right, honestly. I mean, with due respect to marketers, I mean, uh, you know, the reality is that change doesn't happen that easily and that fast, because there's a lot of thought, a lot of things, there's a lot of legacy thought which is ingrained in your head. You have been doing something in a certain way, and you think that you know what is to be done, so you're not nimble to change very rapidly. Whereas the world is about agility, the world is about doing things quicker and changing faster. What they call as fast, fail fast. I mean, even if you go wrong, quick, try, experiment, doesn't work, fail, fine, fail fast, get up, try something else, whatever you call it. So that's the era in which we are actually living. And if you don't experiment, you don't fail, you don't even try enough. So most companies, most brands, most people tend to be relatively safe. So they still need 10 levels of approval and things have to happen. So what needs to happen overnight will take a month to make happen. By the time things have already changed. So yeah, more people are not getting it right than people who are getting it right. But the ones, it's like completely depends on the few exceptions, the guys who are able to make the change, who are getting the support from their top management to go and experiment, and who are learning rapidly, they are the few ones, but they are the ones who I would look at being leaders for tomorrow.
Great. So I think it's a strong message for all the marketers in this webinar or all the marketers in the respective organizations. Be nimble, be flexible, be okay when your sacred cows are questioned. So with that, I'll just move to the next question. There's a question from Sajal Dabral. He wants to know, isn't target advertising already fulfilling the digital marketing fantasy?
Is the targeted advertising already fulfilling?
The digital marketer's fantasy.
To some extent, yes, I do believe so. So there was an interesting article in the Mint a couple of days back, which actually compared Facebook advertising to television. Now that was unbelievable. The fact that it can even be compared to me was an amazing fact. That when even with Google and even with the search marketing, television was still very much popular, continues to be, because television gave you reach at one shot, and it also gave you ability to tell a story with a large video format in an interesting way. So if you're doing a brand sale, you want that kind of a canvas and you want large reach. Whereas Google, with its great search capability, was able to give you a fine targeting, but only when people were searching. So you needed to achieve through a large number of searches, you would get somewhere. Facebook now is kind of addressing both aspects. One is that it has reach. The fact that in India also it's got more than 100 million, the world over it's got like several, multiple beyond a billion. It's got reach on the one side, and it's by profiles, by lifestyle issues, by custom audience, which means your customers you can target, your customers look alike audience you can target, people who visited your website and now coming to your through Facebook you can target. So the targeting is becoming better and better. Plus, it also offers you rich media methods to convey your brand story, your advertising story. So it has the best of both worlds in a sense. It has got the richness of the medium, it has got reach, and it has got targeting, which television doesn't have. So in that sense, yes, it's getting to a point where targeting with all these means is getting to a point which is closer to the digital marketers' fantasy. But I think digital marketers are greedier, and they will want even more than this.
They want to make their life even more difficult.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so there are a lot of questions which are coming up. I'll keep taking all of them one by one. Simultaneously, I'm just launching a couple of poll questions in front of you. The first is this, wherein if you're looking for a social media agency for your organization, just mention yes over here. I'll forward your contact details to Sanjay's team and they'll contact you back. So while you're responding to that, let me take the next question. The question is from Prasad. Prasad wants to know, how much percentage of overall marketing spend does digital marketing get?
Okay. So at this time, the numbers that I have, which is from some industry report, is that it's about 10% overall as an industry number. So this was a number which I read somewhere that last year, out of overall spend of 35,000 crores, digital got about 3,500 roughly, which is good. From going from small single digits, it's just about nudging to a 2-digit level. But it's becoming significant that it's already bigger than other areas like radio and outdoor and cinema advertising and all. So it's definitely in a way replacing some of the traditional spaces where advertising used to happen. And the other fact is that this is still, I suspect, these numbers are only looking at fundamental marketing spends, which is closer to advertising money is being spent. Digital is also getting budgets from other departments of a company. Digital is getting budgets from customer service teams. It's getting budgets from PR. It's getting money sometimes from investor relations teams. It's getting monies from HR teams because there is wherever there are people communicating with each other, for a lot of stakeholders in the company, there is both opportunity and vulnerability. And so it's not just the marketer who spends money here. The HR person wants to be sure that the employer branding is happening correctly. He wants to be sure that he taps the conversations that existing employees are having on platforms or previous employees are having. So all these monies are also being spent, in other words. So, but pure advertising and marketing money, digital spend would be roughly 10% of the total.
Got it. Great. So, guys, I'm just launching this another poll question in front of you. As part of Digital Vidya, we do 6 months course in digital marketing and various 1 month programs as well. So, if you're interested in taking up any of the or formal courses, you can just mention yes over here, and someone from our team will call you. So, there are actually a lot of questions around e-commerce organizations. So, I'll just pick up, let you know a couple of them, and possibly you can actually respond them together. So
Sure.
Parag wants to know what are your thoughts on Flipkart and OLX marketing partnership. And Santosh wants to know a lot of e-commerce companies use content driven marketing and still they use traditional media. What are the reason behind it? So if you can respond to that, it will be good.
Okay. So, I haven't gone into detail of the Flipkart and OLX tie-up, so I would have to pass that question. I'm not very sure. I just would say that, both of them are extremely, at least personally, I respect both the brands really well, and I think, both are on, evaluations apart, which is always a topic of controversy, but I think both of them have a great business model and working really well. So I unfortunately don't know enough about. I haven't. I saw that thing in the morning. I haven't had a chance to go through the details of the marketing tab, so I'll skip that question for not having enough data. What was the second question? Sorry.
Yeah, the second question was, let me know. I think a lot of e-commerce companies use content-driven marketing and still they use traditional media. So, what are your
Right.
thoughts behind it? Yeah.
So, I think one is when the company has raised a lot of money, there is a certain expectation that they have and their investors have of a certain rate of growth. Because you want to grow at a certain rapid rate, you don't want to miss out on any possible opportunity. So, which means that you'll spend left, right, and center. You're covering all bases, in other words. So, which is fine. If you have ample resources, then why not do everything? Is one way of looking at it. On the other hand, if you look at it differently, so television and other traditional media definitely still have reach, and they have. So you'd still see, let's say, an ad on television in a big screen format with sharp colors and a great, audio and great storyline. So there is a certain brand imagery which is being built through that, which is required because you want to create a certain aspirational value about the brand by when you show that kind of ad. And parallelly, when you're doing content marketing, there is a, uh, or when you say digital marketing, it's probably closer to bringing a person onto your website faster. So there is an immediacy about it. I see something on a website, I'm reading something, I see a nice video, I see a interesting photograph. It tempts me to click and then generate what we call as a virtual footfall into your store. So both are required. Now, I wouldn't do it if the brand is not even recognized. So if I see some XYZ, and even if it's a great piece of fun, and I think twice about it that, I don't know who they are, so let me not waste time because I have enough other things to do. But if it's the same brand which had created a certain visual imagery about it by showing me a television ad, and now show pops up on my browser, there's a fair chance that I may click and go there. So that's you need both of them to kind of deliver, especially if you have the budgets to afford it.
Great. So, guys, we've already exceeded with 5 minutes, so I'll just take up one more question from Parag. It's more on a little different light. So, he wants to know where do you think Twitter globally will head from here compared to Facebook? And overall, I mean, based on where Twitter and Facebook are currently, from the marketer's point of view, how do you see as a future or like which channel will grow and where should we be focusing on? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean, the future, of course, you'll need a really good crystal ball to really understand where things will go. Now, the reason I'm saying that is not because we can't visualize everything. The fact is, there's just a lot of um, different paths that these companies have taken in terms of the kind of acquisitions they have made and the kind of types they do. So while Twitter on its own, there is a certain personality to it and a certain purpose it serves. Uh, if it, let's say, it ties up with a certain, like it ties up with wine and it gets a certain different new capability, or rather it acquires time wine and it gets a different personality and different opportunity. Similarly, it has got its connections on television and it can potentially connect with a buy button, which it has already got, and it's experimenting, and it becomes a way to sell instantaneously or impulsively or whatever. So the fact is that it's what they do on the technology front in terms of features, in terms of acquisitions, is a very dynamic space which we can't visualize today because it's something which there that thought process are going on in the way they see the medium going, and uh, and it will evolve as we look at it. But at a more fundamental level, where they are today and what role they have in the consumer's life, Facebook, of course, is something which people go and spend larger time. They read longer stories, they see photographs of their friends and others, so they're spending more time there, which is where a consistent and continuing message which a brand can give, whether it's through promoted posts or video advertising or whatever, continues to enrich the uh, brand building efforts for the brand, as well as give a link which can click and bring people to a store or whatever. So it has a little long-term appeal from a branding perspective and an advertiser's perspective. Whereas Twitter, of course, as its nature of the medium being the way it is far more about here and now. So as an advertiser, you would want to run things like, in the next hour, this offer is running, or this code, and you enter this code and you'll get this discount, and things of that kind. And those can become pretty viral if you have an interesting offer that you push it out and somebody sees it and quickly starts retweeting, and it can carry very fast. Or you put out a nice image of a product and this is only a Twitter special sale which is available for the next 4 hours or something like that. That can have a tendency to go pretty viral. So from a brand point of view, you would use the two mediums in a very different way, basis the status of the media which are there right now. But as I said, these guys, they keep evolving, and through acquisitions or other means, they keep manifesting themselves in different ways. And can you use wine for an interesting video, and then whatever, Instagram and whatnot, which are all now part of one or the other large babies. Um, Maybe I've given a little roundabout answer, but I think the point is that, to put it mildly and simply, Facebook is probably a little more uh, ongoing brand building and activation platform that brands would use. Twitter is probably closer to still being a more impulse driving kind of mechanism, and hence you'll use it for some tempting offers or deals or discounts which you can quickly go share and have them go viral on the media.
Got it. So I think, yeah, that definitely gave all of us some perspective to this thought. So at this point of time, I really want to thank you for taking time out, and I would like to let everybody know, we have recorded this session, so you would get a recording of this session also. We'll do a blog post on this, and very soon you will receive a link on this. So if there is any question that is left unanswered, just post as a comment there, and we'll respond back to you. And also want to thank everybody for attending this session. Anything you want to say, Sanjay, before we close the session?
I just want to apologize for the technical hitches which happened. Even though we did the testing before, once we got going, there were all these hiccups for the speed was probably not as good or whatever. So sorry for having had those disturbances. But thank you for inviting me, Kapil and Rachel Vidya, and all the best to everybody.
Thanks, Sanjay. So thank you, everybody. And as Sanjay said, my apologies for the technology hiccups today. We'll try to take care of it in the next session. Thank you, everybody. The session is closed.